For AM Talk this morning, I have Kamaldeen Abdullah. He's the National Nasara Coordinator of the MPP. Thanks for joining me, Kamal.
Thanks.
How was your weekend?
Oh, well.
You were observing the NDC go through their...
Keenly. I
you were getting frightened, I think.
From A to Z.
You were getting frightened.
Frightened?
A strong team to contest the MPP. And
interesting.
Abraham Amalba is with the NDC's legal team, and thanks for joining me. He was also part of the committee that put together that very Congress. We should say that congratulations to your party.
Thank you for having me.
But your observation so far, following this very Congress that was put together, not only by the team you were in, but also by the entire NDC.
I had one delegate coming up to me and saying, let me say good morning to our viewers, and to say good morning.
Which constituency do you come from?
Bolga Central.
Ah, Bolga Central.
And good morning to
them too.
My constituents. I met them in Kumasi, and they were in good spirit. I had a delegate walking up to me and saying that this is one of the best conferences or congresses that we've had. Because of the security arrangements, and because of the way the security also ensured the orderly organization of the Congress. It was strictly for persons who were accredited. And so if you saw the whole stadium, you notice that there were some empty seats. It was not open to the public. But outside the stadium, you saw millions of people, parading around. But it was only delegates who were allowed to go in there, and you must be accredited. The newsmen, media were also to be accredited. The security men were on high alert. And so you notice that it was trouble-free. There were no rancor, no disagreements. So based on that, my verdict is that the Congress went on well. Everybody saw it. Those who sat back also saw it. And I'll thank all my colleagues who were able to put this Congress together.
Your observations?
Well,
as you got frightened in your seat watching.
Interesting. I'm wondering why you have chosen to use this adjective this morning. Got frightened. I'm surprised. First of all, I think I must thank our viewers this morning and say hello to them, and of course say good morning to them as well. And I must congratulate Amalba and his team for a good job done. What is important is that we try to entrench our multi-party democracy and get it actually on a sound footing. I believe that is just another teaser coming to tell us that yes, indeed, our multi-party democracy per the 4th Republican Constitution is on course. By and large, things went on well. I observed from A to Z, like I rightly said in my intro. Well, few hitches here and there. It's a human institution. Basically, you're going to envisage some of these things and go on. Except to add that, yes, the team chosen indeed is not a team that I, Kamaldeen Ibn Abdullah, as a national executive member of MPP, an opposing party for that matter in this contest that we're going into in 2016, sees as a team that is wet, standing us at all. Yes, we all saw what happened, and as we sit here, people were there to sing their own praises. Some came to tell them in the face, your praises cannot be sung because we are suffering. Some came to tell them that yes, this song that you are singing to praise yourself indeed is the way it is. That is Excutives for that matter. That one, no one is taking her on. But someone who comes to tell you, in reality, I am suffering. In reality, the ordinary Ghanaian is suffering. In reality, there's no food on my table. That one, someone sits down to insult his person for no fault of his. I'm just observing what happened.
I thought
it is an observation.
The Congress organization.
It's a Congress, of course. That's what I'm talking about.
I thought that we were looking at that. But if it is the
invited people to come and give solidarity, is it not organization?
That's part of that. That's part of
you made room for invitation of solidarity.
You go ahead.
I don't get you. So you see, to have had people, of course, who come to tell you, in reality, this is the status quo of the state. This is the way we see it as ordinary people. So, Mr. President, so whoever is in the driver's seat, fix it for us. Let's see how we can go on. That one, someone has problem with it. But someone to come and say that, yes, it took someone to have rural education, someone to do this. God will bless you.
Say generally,
all those ones, I'm saying generally.
But you say generally the organization of the Congress
No,
was
basically everything was okay, except
right,
to say, like I said, mishaps. Of course, these are just factual, happenings there, which I'm citing. I'm surprised my brother could not take it lightly, and of course he's a bit pinchy to respond.
We'll talk about the nitty-gritties as to what the contents of the speeches were, perhaps, but we have to talk about comportment of the general delegates and even those who went there to observe or support, and who may have been outside the stadium generally. That also...
Submissions on this program must be based on questions asked. Oh. And I am not feeling any heat by his submissions. True to my way of talking, I limit myself to the questions asked. So my response to you is that I'm not feeling hot at all by your submissions. The general comportment of all the supporters who came around was good. It is to be expected that you have situations where people who were not accredited were trying to push their way through. That should be expected. Even there were some people who came up to indicate that why don't we just open the gates for everybody to come in, but we were not sure of the security. So comportment in there was okay by the delegates. Then you have the thousands of supporters who were also outside, who also kept vigil overnight till the results were declared. So general comportment, there wasn't a single arrest as far as the organizational abilities of, the organization was concerned. And so I would say that it is kudos to all of us, and that I thank the NDC supporters for comporting themselves.
While mentioning that, as far as accreditation was concerned, we got feedback, especially from the media, that there were difficulties with some levels of accreditation, especially when some were said to be open and seem to have been only issued a few hours before the opening of the Congress.
Yes. There was little time for the accreditation committee to come out with those accreditation cards.
That was a flaw then?
No, not necessarily. Because you notice that this Congress had been postponed once. And then also there was a court case hanging around our neck. So some attention was focused on doing those things and to ensure that we clear the hurdle. So that
meaning what? You didn't know whether the Congress would come over or not?
Yeah, because if a matter is in court, once we are law-abiding party, so once a matter is in court, we needed to clear that before. But subsequently, we got the accreditations out. Some media houses wanted to have more than what was expected
in terms of the allocation.
The allocation, and that's how come that some were complaining. But all media houses were given accreditation. But it is expected that some may come with more than the numbers given to them, and that is why we had such a problem. But basically, there wasn't any major hitches.
Yeah, you see, I'm happy that it's important. My good brother says that questions ought to be answered the way they are asked. It's not. It's not a rebuttal. Okay. I'm just. I see. It puts me on a particular level that some people out there might have the impression that yes, indeed, I did not go direct to answer the question. Question was your observation about the Congress. I think the little journalism I have done tells me that there's observational reporting, and of course, in carrying out an observational reporting, every happening of that particular, premises, okay, ought to be recounted. And that was exactly what I was doing. So I don't see what was actually different from the question that I was asked anyway. Maybe he has to look at it. Again, like I said, I really gave them kudos. I told them, yes, they did well. They organized it well. We did ours. We had same differences. We had same, scenario. We never had a lot of hitches and all that. And I did allude to the fact that, yes, it's a human institution, and you, of course, anticipate some of these mishaps and all that. But then, what else will I say, or can I say, if I don't go into the merits of the happenings there? Fact remains, and I said that, yes, solidarity messages were actually sought for by the same organizing committee from various parties, CPP, MPP, PNC, and all that. Fact also remains that, yes, we had a chairman in the race pulling out last minute. What actually triggered that we don't know. That is not a problem anyway. Fact also.
That's normal. That's normal.
No, it's normal. I don't have a problem, but I'm just saying that what actually triggered that we don't know so much. Except to say that some people had to go on radio to say that the president has met someone in secret to tell him that he should withdraw, which I found very unfortunate.
Those are speculations.
So Rasmus Barak was on radio saying it. That's not speculation. Rasmus Barak, publicly, he was on radio saying. I'm not too sure about. You see, Roland. Listen, let's be fair. I'm not saying it's a problem. It is the onus lies on Mr. Hudu Yahya, who I revere so much and respect so much. Of course, his prowess in politics is enormous. And I'm saying that the onus lies on him to say, I have withdrawn or not to withdraw. But to have gone on radio to say, the president who, of course, reposes confidence in whoever he meets, and tell the president that
there's some uncontrolled discussions.
No. I don't know. Listen.
It goes way wide.
No, it's not. There's a correlation of all that I'm saying.
No. Come on. Now we've seen executives being elected.
Yeah.
And these executives, for example, Nana Kumia says, well, those that were elected towards 2016 would always be the two main parties. And as far as the MPP is concerned, there are no fears for the personnel who have been elected, etc. Yeah. But the truth is that it's supposed to ensure that there's a team that's formidable and put together an election that would ensure that the NDC also retains power in 2016.
Well, no, for me, like I said, I'm not so much perturbed about the team that they are bringing forward at all. I know that the saying goes that brighten the corner where you are. We are where we are. We are sure and very poised for action to go into 2016. Likewise, I believe they will also claim that, yes, they are going to brighten the corner where they are, and they are poised for that and all that. Like Nana Kumia said, in fact, I share in his own sentiment, to say that, yes, indeed, we are not perturbed at all. We are poised for action. We are ready to go in. We are ready to remain vigilant and also ensure that we have become vigilant so that whatever went down in 2012 to have warranted going to court will not happen again this time round. We are going to ensure that there is an election that, of course, will be accepted by all, inshallah. And that is what we're going to be doing. Well, I'm actually okay. I congratulate all of them, except to say that, yes, the ego of Excutives Ketia indeed was bruised a bit when his, one who contested him indeed, Farrakhan pulled some significant number of votes at least.
It was only 600 elections
at the tail end. No, it's okay.
Several thousands that...
Look, we had chairmen who couldn't make that. We had people, of course, who have been in this campaign for a very long time. This man came at the tail end of it, but yet he was able to cause a bruise a bit, to tell us that, yes, indeed, if we had a strong, formidable candidate contesting Excutives Ketia, it would have been a different story. Of course, it would have been a different story. So, for me, I just think that, yes, we are okay. We do FESM. We are comfortable. We are okay. We welcome them. We congratulate all of them. And let's get a clear campaign.
Abraham, new set of leaders, but almost like a mixture of the old and new. But also giving indication based on the margins of the polls for those who had been toppled that indeed the grassroots wanted some levels of change, even though we could say that the delegates still don't necessarily always compose of people at the grassroots level.
Yeah, it's a mixture of both old and new. The old would give us institutional memory, and the new would give us vigor to forge ahead. The old guards are actually the same people who have moved positions. Kofi Adams was at the deputy secretariat position. He now goes to the organizer. Kofi Potofio was a deputy chairman. He goes to chairman. So it's just musical chairs, movement of people from one place to another. And so you don't find a situation where they are entirely new to the game. I've heard people say that, can they work together? These people have been working together. Kofi Adams was a deputy to Excutives Ketia, and they worked together. Now that he's even moving to the organizer's position, I think that he can work with him much better than even when he was under him. So there's not going to be any friction. This is a committee, an executive that has been elected to do a job. Congress has spoken. What Congress said was that I want you and you and you to work together. When Congress says that, then the individuals would have to put down their egos and then fight and forge ahead for the party. So Congress has spoken, and we are over with Congress.
Can I make conclusions that perhaps you're trying to whittle down the enormous changes that took place over the weekend, despite the fact that, well, the people who had been elected into top positions are still personality who had always been in the executive or just around the executive?
So,
because, because if you have somebody as formidable as your chairman who brought the party from opposition into government, and you have a national organizer who also had been very formidable in retaining the party in power in the last election, being perhaps deposed in many respects, that speaks volumes about what the rank and file thought about his leadership, his abilities to be able to also interact adequately with them.
Let's take the chairmanship position, for example.
Yes, sir.
The chairman did not work alone. He worked with other vice chairmen. And among his team is one of them who is not a chairman. So basically, there has not been a change.
There has been a change.
No, the team. Are you listening to me? The team that won the elections included Kofi Potofi. Are you getting the analysis now?
Yes.
If it was somebody different who came from outside, like Koko Anidoho, who came in as a fresh person to win the elections, then that is where you can say that there have been a jettison of the ideas of say, the leader. But this leader, Komna Aje, worked with Potofi to clinch this victory. So it is not a dramatic change as we had in the tsunami, where in the MPP you had everybody going away. That's the kind of analysis.
Well, we do analysis. You see that you're also taking a dig at the MP. So when they take a dig at you,
no, I have no problem with that. I've not said that he's uncomfortable. My protest to him.
I also didn't mean that you.
No. My protest to what he said was when he said that I was suffering while sitting down. That's my protest.
That was
but taking a dig, we all do it at such platforms.
That's fine.
But that was just a jibe.
So you can't say that there has been a complete overhaul.
Not complete.
Exactly.
But a significant shift in personnel also tends to, as far as doing an analysis in an electoral position of a party internally, it gives a mindset of what the people think,
there has been some movement, and I don't know why you don't understand there's movement.
Well, I understand. I understand what you're saying.
There is a movement from the vice chairman to a chairman. That's a movement. And this vice chairman was part of the team that won the elections. And I have given you an example where you have Koko Anidoho, who was not part of the executive and has come from somewhere from the Flagstaff House and is not part of the executive. In that regard, you can say that that's a completely new person who has come in.
I'm going to go into. But you do not
understand my analysis. I'm saying that there has been some movement, but it's not as if there has been a complete change. That's my point.
Yes, and I understand it perfectly, Mr. Amalba.
You see, you can sit to try to treat this whole thing gingerly and tell you that there has not been jettison or there has not been any throw-out of ideas and all that. Frankly speaking, I stand to disagree with Amalba vehemently when he says that, yes, there has been some movement, but yet the ideas, okay, which saw NDC kind of going into 2012 election, is same ideas that, of course, maintains, because it's just Kofi Adams, who was a deputy general secretary, has become an organizer. It's like a musical chairs, like you rightly put it. It's just Kofi Potofi, who was a vice chairperson, now becoming a chairman, and all that. You see, prior to the election conducted in Kumasi, Roland, it is simple for us to understand one thing, that Kofi Potofi saw his position as a vice chair and contested to become chairman. Kofi Adams saw his position as a deputy general secretary and contested to become national organizer. Whether we do like it or we do not like it, or the way in manner we want to choose, or whatever, no matter how we want to choose adjectives to describe the movement or whatever that happened, there has been change. There has been a new chairman in place. there has been a new organizer in place, and of course, to say that, again, let me add, Essiedu Nketia, who was the general secretary, actually has not been changed. That stays.
But you do understand
so
the persons are the same people. Are the same people.
They are the same people. But however, is it to sit here to want to say that the same idea, trying to, we all know the rancor, the acrimony that greeted their campaign before they got to where they got.
I don't understand.
Look, some people were called moles. Some people were called moles before they got there.
Every political,
and the argument was also that the argument was also that don't change the winning team. Which is the winning team?
Right.
Anyway.
Would want to get an independent view on this. We have a political science lecturer with the University of Ghana on the line, Dr. Edward Brenya. Very good morning to you, Dr. Brenya. Now, particularly when we have certain positions changing at the Congress of the NDC, albeit the same people perhaps occupying lower positions coming to occupy top positions of the party, where lies the argument? Or perhaps the debate coming up saying, well, the people who have just come in are the same people, and so nothing really have changed in terms of ideas and in terms of what is supposed to be, let's say, a disagreement of the rank and file over the behavior patterns of the top executives.
Let me first of all take this opportunity to congratulate your listeners and also to greet you. I wish to say the fact that, yes, they were part of the team, but we know that in terms of leadership, every leader comes with their own style of leadership. Let me use the current president. The current president was the vice president to the former, the late president, but when he came in as the president, he had a leadership style that Ghanaians have seen a different from the Atamil-led government for which he was a part. So certainly, I don't think I buy the idea that the new leadership necessarily is the old leadership. Yes, they were a team. There are certain things that they might retain in terms of leadership, but naturally, we would expect as Kofi Adams, in their new position, would want to do things differently from the way that Dr. Komaji and others have done it. So, yes, I believe it's a new leadership, which is probably, and I use the word probably because we don't know what the outcome will be, which is probably different from the old leadership.
Well, you're joining us for the discussion, so we're going to spend 5 more minutes with you, or probably the next 7 minutes with you. So whilst you give your observations on the questions, they will also be giving their observations as well. But I still have to be with you, Dr. Brenya. Now, if they're bringing new ideas, do you think it also tends to give an indication that perhaps the rank and file of the party thought, well, the old leaders or the personalities who have not been retained had difficulties in the way their style of leadership was, and could it also be because they had detached themselves from the grassroots, so to speak?
Let me say one thing that is very essential in the politics of Ghana. You know, going to Congress yesterday, one of the things that I was looking at in terms of the Rawlinses and the Rawlinses' influence on NDC was whether Rawlins has lost, the Rawlinses has lost their hold on the NDC, following what happened on Sunyani in the last Congress. But what I observed from the outcome was that what happened at Kumasi, at Sunyani, was not a vote against the Rawlinses, but rather a vote against women becoming a president if she was elected. So yesterday confirmed my suspicion that the Rawlinses are still very powerful, they are still influential. What I'm seeing right now is that the old ideology, what the president would want to say, the ideology that pushed them into government, the ideology that came in 79, that the NDC still believes that the party probably was shifting from the ideology, and they need to bring people who can bring them back to the ideology. If you see the margin at which Kofi Potofo won, the margin at which Kofi Adam won, they were not just small numbers. They were numbers that one could look at and see that, yes, people really buy into this idea that the party has to be refocused.
now, no. Yes, so, Abraham, your response to what Dr. Brenya has said, and you add up to the fact that, well, Mr. Rawlings says, or Flight Lieutenant Rawlings says, well, NDC was funded on certain ideologies, probity, accountability, transparency, and all that. And we've had a series of issues, perceived corruption, and government itself investigating some of these acts to make sure it cleanses its house, but also make sure the public circles are also cleansed of some of these things. Is that a new style of leadership that perhaps the grassroots wants the party to be focused on?
When I said that there hasn't been a shift, I was talking about the personnel. And I'm saying that there has only been a movement.
You're still maintaining that.
And I've said that it is clear that these were existing executives. I don't see how people cannot see that. That Kofi Adams was already in the system. That Kofi Potofie was already in the system. And that together they brought this party to power. That's my point. And that cannot be contested.
True.
Even if you are groping in the dark, you will see it.
We understand.
Good. Now, the next point has to do with whether the NDC is moving away from its principles. The NDC has not at any time moved away from its principles of probity, accountability. Now, ask anybody who talks about corruption in this country, that person will be citing the very cases that government itself has made investigations and has revealed. For instance, they will say national service, but who calls investigation into national service? It is the presidency. Ask anybody, they will say JIDA, but who is prosecuting now? Is the government. Ask anybody about any acts of corruption, they will say Black Star.
What do you mean?
And then when we talk about Black Star, who has caused the investigation to take place? Is the same government. So politicians, and for that matter, those in government are not angels. They will by all means commit mistakes. They will engage in acts which are inappropriate. But the commitment to deal with those matters is what shows that the government is committed to fighting corruption. This government has not wasted time. Any time that acts of corruption are being talked about, the government puts in place a machinery to help resolve that matter. And so my point is that government has not deviated from the principles of probity and accountability, because when you send a public official to court, you are engaging making him accountable for his acts. When you commission a committee to look into malfeasance, acts of malfeasance, that is also probity and accountability. So, to me, the elections that took place only confirms the government's commitment and attitude towards fighting acts of corruption.
You see,
Kamal.
I'm happy that Mr. Brenya, who is on the line,
Dr. Brenya,
sorry, who is on the line, actually came to corroborate my point. As in, when I say that yes, there have been changes in the leadership style of NDC, yes, I maintain my position. My brother is saying that yes, substantially, if you were part
but you're
of
not
it,
speaking necessarily to
I'm not necessarily.
It's a general comment.
It's a general comment I'm making. Now, I'm looking at the variance that we stand. I mean, he's at somewhere, I'm somewhere. Of course, with Dr. Brenya here on this point. You see, it is important for us to note that yes, you can recount the fact that your accountability and probity that you're talking about, that of course can be credited to the Rawlingses. Actually, indeed, is what you are espousing up to date. Therefore, you have not moved away from the very core ideology that seeks to establish NDC, as it were. Now, my point is that we have had in this party, if indeed you have not moved from the ideology, we have had in this party, clearly, I mean NDC, okay, where we have a general secretary coming to say that someone is a backing dog. One who, of course, initiated the ideology of which you are a subject, says he backs. We've had times, let's face realities. We've had times when the Rawlingses, of course, at a point in time were almost vilified. We saw what happened in Sunyani, like Dr. Brenya rightly said. Of course, people were having the perception that the Rawlingses were voted against. Of course, he stands the fact to say that no, the Rawlingses were not voted against. It was just a woman who was voted against and all that. I still maintain that the Rawlingses are now gaining back the roots, okay, the strength in the party, clearly. Because indeed what is yours is yours. If the ideology, like my brother Amalba rightly said, emanated from them, And of course, it stands, and they stand to reason with them. And up to date, they go on, citing JIDA, where they are prosecuting, citing other places that comes to buttress the point that accountability and probity is the hallmark of NDC, which I disagree with him anyway. The point or the argument here is that the Rawlinses, of course, at a point in time in the process of their development, were left aside. Today, the delegates are telling you that let's go back to our roots. Let's go and move. Let's get the Rawlinses back. And we saw, you see, in the speech of the Rawlinses, Mr. Rawlins, when he gave us, he said he can see change happening in this party. And until we commit surgery, we cause surgery in this party, we cannot get the party right. And indeed, this election comes to point the fact that Mr. Rawlins' surgery that he was talking about has been conducted, and this party has changed hands. Leadership has changed, whether we like it or we do not like it. That is the way it is in NDC.
About points made. Dr. Brenya, now, during the speeches that were given, of course, definitely we'll have to land on Ivor Green Street of the CPP and his comments about the state of the economy, etc. The MPP also came and said, well, there was the need for politicians to conduct themselves in a way, and albeit knowing that for the Fourth Republic we've had the MPP and the NDC dominating the politics of our country, that in many respects they need to undertake activities and actions or inactions that will make them very much believable and responsible to the electorate. At what point do we have to say that the conduct of the two parties, the MPP and NDC, because they've dominated the Fourth Republic, perhaps also depict whatever the mindset and the will of the people are, as far as the politics is?
Come again, sir.
Okay. I'm saying, if you look at the conduct of the two parties, and yes, based on the speeches of both Kobne Japan, Ivor Green Street, and even the reaction from the president and the other executives following all that, and the Rawlins is also coming to say they need a purge within the party. At what point would you say that the actions or inactions of the two parties tend also or need to reflect whatever aspirations and the way the ordinary Ghanaian or voter or the electorate or the grassroots person would want to see politics conducted in our country?
I think strongly, if we look at the delegate congresses that the two parties have had, there is one thing that has become very clear, that delegates, and for that matter, voters are, if you excuse my language, they are now rational voters. They are now people who try as much as to observe what goes on. There are people who are not purchased or bought as we want to believe it in Ghanaian politics. And I believe strongly that if we are talking about the two-party system, I think that essentially voters are becoming more and more responsive to the kind of policies that are delivered by these two parties. As to whether their action or inaction might result in the possibility of the other minor parties being able to become formidable in subsequent elections, it would depend on the other parties. Because if you look at it critically, it looks as if Ghana is somehow moving along the U.S. model, whereby two parties are strong, whereby voters tend to see the ability of government, a party's ability to form government being either of the two parties. If that is the case, then what we're going to have is that parties may be penalized or rewarded. I'm talking about two parties. They may be penalized or rewarded based on their action and inaction. But as to whether that would actually cause a third party to become formidable in terms of forming government is a big question. It's a big question because majority of Ghanaian voters are now looking up to this party. So if this party does not perform, they think, no, this may be the time to actually try the next party.
Okay.
I don't foresee a situation where they say, no, these two parties are not performing, so let's move on to go and try CPP or the parties themselves. The parties, the third parties, I don't know if they're doing enough. Since if you look at Ghanaian politics critically, the old UP, CPP gurus are the one that has been drawn into the new NDC and the UP tradition. So it makes it very difficult, in as much as CPP and others would want to try, it makes it very difficult because they have their key members being part of NDC, their key members I mean, the UP people still retaining their part. When the late president was in power, the late president would often want us to believe that he shared the CPP credentials, that he shared the PP ideology. So that is some of the things that is working against the third party. So I believe strongly that it's still going to be these two parties, but they might be rewarded or punished based on voters' expectation of them.
Well, it's a good point you make. I have to let you go, but before I do, one more question to you. So,
yes,
based on all the analysis you've undertaken so far, would you say then the changes that have happened following this very Congress by the NDC also gives an indication that perhaps the grassroots also wants some level of change in the way currently or prior to now they've governed the party and even performing as government or party in government?
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, I'm very, very proud of the Ghanaian electorate. Look, the maturity, let me use the word maturity of the Ghanaian electorate.
You mean the NDC delegates, or you're talking about the entire...
No, I'm looking at both congresses that have gone on.
Okay.
Both the MPP and the NDC congress that have gone.
Okay.
You can see that voters are mature, voters are looking for positive results. If you look at the leaders that have been changed, leaders that try to ignore the grassroots, right, in a way have been changed. Going into this election, somebody like Tijan, there was a lot of complaint about him from the NDC. So it wasn't surprising when Tijan lost his seat, right? There was a lot of complaint about the chairman. It wasn't surprising when he changed. And the same thing happened with the MPP when they went for their Congress. So what I'm saying is that voters are becoming rational. Voters, they want results. They want to see that if you promise them something, you give it. Now, that leads me to the next question. Would that necessarily result in, would that translate into the outcome of election? We don't know. Why I say we don't know is that if you look at the NDC right now, the NDC is doing something that I've been observing very interestingly. When Rawlings left, there were a lot of people who left the party. What I'm seeing right now is that gradually, both under the late president and the current president, the NDC is uniting its members gradually. If you look at the people that came in, the coming in of the Minister of Trade, Dr. Spilgabra, and other people that are coming in right now, you see the NDC probably, and I use the word probably, is realizing that 2016 is going to be about core supporters. Because if there is going to be any punishment or if there's going to be any shift, it is the floating voters who may be forced to move one way or the other. But the NDC realized that if it's going to go on and win 2016, then it needs a core members. It needs to make sure that the party is united. And this is the, if I say, the strategy that I observed with the NDC. Now, that makes it very difficult to say whether we are actually going to see an electorate who says we are penalizing the government because the government had achieved or did not achieve results. But gradually, at least within the party, we can say strongly that party supporters would want to see leaders that respect the grassroots.
All right.
Leaders that are willing to champion the cause of the grassroots.
Dr. Edward Bringer, you're a lecturer, KNUST, in history and political science, and I should say independently that your observations just seem to cap it. Abraham, do you think within the party there's the realization that perhaps there need to be some reorientation and a change in not necessarily the ideology, but just the way things are done to make sure that there's that embodiment of spirit and soul that has always engulfed the NDC?
No, every political party is a growing institution.
And you always do introspection?
Every political institution is a growing institution. And so looking at the exigencies of the times and looking at the circumstances prevailing, you must position yourself in such a way as to take advantage. I agree with the point he made regarding the fact that there is a need to re-energize the grassroots base. I agree with him on that score because as a party, we don't want to suffer from what I would term as what was the word when people don't go out to vote?
Apathy.
Apathy. We don't want to suffer from that. And so you notice where we went to have our Congress, in the heart of the opposition. That is to re-energize our base and to sound a note of warning to our opposition party that we are still alive and kicking. Don't forget, in the last election, we garnered almost 30% of the votes in Ashanti. That's the highest, and that catapulted us to where we are today. We need to ensure that we at least maintain that type of vote. So it is a strategy, and also coming closely to the heels of the president having to go to Kumasi to, as it were, commission this expansion of the airport. So the committee and as a party, this Congress was strategized to ensure that we got all these positives coming to us.
Do you think that as leaders of the party, not that you hold executive position in any respect, but you're also a leader with the executive, do you think there's a realization as you do your introspection that perhaps your core supporter base are not too happy with you just because there's the perception that government may not be performing adequately or is performing poorly?
No. If there's apathy at all, it is not to say that government is not performing well. Because this is
I'm not saying there's apathy, I'm saying they're not happy.
Yeah,
there's
they're
a
not
difference
happy.
between the two.
This is a government that spent almost a year in court and yet has been able to produce 37 military hospital. Some constructions are going on at a rich hospital. You have the Kwame Nkrumah Circle. You have the interchange. This is a government that has ramped up production of water from Pong and all those things. So there are positives for our supporters to see. But you see, when you come to power, supporters are looking for how they can get attracted to some opportunities. And it's not everybody who will be given that opportunity. There are some people who will be feeling peeved that they have not been given one position or the other, or the goodies that they expect has not come. Those are the people that I am talking about. But it's not about dissatisfaction that this government has not performed. If you have a government that has stayed in court for 1 year and has been able to produce these results, then you can say that this is a government that has done well.
Your responses to all these, Dr. Brenya and him?
Dr. Brenya, for him, I fairly agree with him. But he made a very decent analogy. He did not actually sway on any divide or something. In fact, he was actually on an objective point of view. To have said that, yes, a party ought to maintain your core voters, because those who make the difference actually is the floating voter and not the core members. And to have said that the NDC, in fact, per their strategy from time now, bringing in of Uspiogabra and blah, 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 now trying to get the party united, indeed is also another point that is worth noting. And I agree with him on that. Each party, political party in this country, and that's a cue that we should also take as a party, as MPP, we should try to ensure that our core voters, indeed, are also held. Because that's our strength first before we think of getting into the floating voters and see what we can do. Now, I like when the voter apathy thing is mentioned, because that is actually the price you pay if you don't maintain your core voters. And yes, it applies to all. I agree with Amalba when he says that we should be afraid of voter apathy. Whether MPP or NDC, any political party at all, be afraid of it. And that's the point we need to work towards it. Now, he says that the Congress that they organized in Kumasi was strategic, which came after the commissioning of some, expansion works done on the Kumasi airport, and they went there to actually do the Congress to prove the point, because strategically, he said it was strategic. I find it very unfortunate to have said this. So are you telling us that yes, you came to expand an airport facility?
No, that's not.
No. I am interpreting what he said, please, and I'm being.
That's your
it is very important. That is me. Please, you can no. You had your time. No, you said something. You said something, please. And you see, when you, of course, you have time. When you encode a message, you see, are you paranoid? What's the problem? You see, when you encode a message, you send it through. It goes through the mail. Communication, and then me who receives decodes it. So if I'm decoding, of course, I'm just right to interpret what you said. Now, to have said that It was strategic for you to hold your Congress in Kumasi, and it came as a result of after you expanded some expansion work, and then you had to do it in Kumasi to prove that yes, the government is working. This is the government that stayed 1 year in court. You see, when you do this, this argument has always been espoused by them. And recently they went to this agenda, whatever, national agenda program, and they were saying that they spent 1 year in court and blah, 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 despite all that they've done this. Where is the argument? The Constitution is clear. I'm happy my brother is a lawyer. It tells you that whether in court or not in court, governance goes on. Per Article 64, nobody said you are not in government. You were in government. Did you have tax holidays for us as Ghanaians? We paid direct and indirect taxes. From the 1 year you are claiming, all of us paid taxes. Did you refuse to go outside there to get money to come and boost the economy? You went out and took money. From 2009 till date, when we have accrued debt of about 27 billion US dollars, are you telling them when you were in court you didn't get some money, some support? What did you use those monies for? We were in court when you were paying questionable judgment debts. So all those ones, you don't put down, you don't talk about that one. It's about your physical mismanagement. Don't talk about you being in court. In any case, the court that we went came out with beautiful suggestions. I'm happy I'm sitting with a lawyer. When you read the entire judgment that came from the court, you realize that the going to court was worth it. It comes to better our standard as Ghanaians, because at the end of the day, some reforms were proposed by judges. And today, I believe that EC and whoever is involved as a stakeholder, we are all going to take note of this, and of course, shaping our democracy, shaping our philosophy in terms of election. So when you sit here to lament that we went to court, is the government that went to court for 1 year.
That they went to court.
We went to court, but you don't tell us that.
And a fact also that there was some level of anxiety. Oh, as far as in the international community.
That makes you not work.
You see?
Let me land. You come. Now, Ghanaians are listening to us. So the people of Ashanti region, you were giving airport because there was airport expansion because there was going to be Congress held in Kumasi. Exactly what he said. He said it was strategic. He said it, and he used the word strategic. Right, as a politician, you know, if a politician says it was strategic, meaning he knew he was going to score a point. That I have done airport, therefore I'm coming to do Congress, and voter apathy will reduce in my party. I mean, this is a serious point. Is when you do this to us, you tell us that we as a people don't even deserve it, but we deserve it when you want your votes.
The people of Ashanti.
Oh, you said I didn't say it.
No,
so
no.
I'm not forget. Let me land now. Let me land finally. I want to say this. It's important that when we sit as a people who wants to seek the mandate of the people and govern them, we should do it with all the greed that is in us vanishing. But if you maintain it with greed, this is how far you bring this country.
I don't get
it. I'm saying that untruthfulness has led this country to rise from grace to grass now, or to fall from grace to grass now, because our debt to GDP ratio, my brother would tell me, is enough to take us to HEPEC today. He knows it. We sit here today, we came and trumpeting single digit inflation. Today, I'm just wrapping up.
You're starting a whole debate.
That one today,
debt to GDP ratio is a whole debate.
Christmas is ready, and today, 3 days to Christmas, my brother, you and I cannot have food on our table, and when Ivor Greenswich say this, it's a problem.
The people of Ashanti are smarter than the
West.
West.
Said it. You didn't say it.
Would you? I'm a decent debater. I don't engage in
a very decent
rabble rousing. I don't engage in that. You see, the people of Ashanti are smarter than what message he's sending to them. The point was made very clear here. And I'm happy he's a lawyer. He will go to court and be doing those things.
I'm not a lawyer.
He's a student. He will soon be a lawyer. The judge will shut him down. When somebody is on his feet, you don't make those gesticulations, trying to ridicule the other person with those cheeky laughter. Those are not. They don't give the viewer the opportunity for the other person to be heard.
Be heard, please.
Now, my point was that having gone to expand the process, Kumasi Airport, as a party, we felt the need to follow up with our Congress in Kumasi. I'm saying, have you heard me? Having done that by the president, because the president goes everywhere in this country to launch programs. Having done that, we as a party then went there. I didn't say that it was because we wanted to come and do our party Congress. That's why we expanded the Kumasi. The strategy is that as a party, we decided to follow up.
Come on, let's
don't you understand? As a party, we try to follow up with what the president has done.
Please don't be
by providing development projects to the people of Kumasi. So what's your point? You see, every activity has got its disadvantage. My coming here has a disadvantage.
True.
Probably I have left my wife and children at home.
Just an opportunity cost.
My drink here could give me some problems maybe when I take the water. So to sit here and say that going to court was the blessed thing, and that it has no negatives, and that we shouldn't sit here and talk about negatives, is for me, a person who doesn't understand that in life there are pros and cons. The pros are that it has uplifted our democratic credentials as a nation. But it is also a fact that development partners were holding back their support, wanting to know which way the Supreme Court ruling will go. Because what they will do for this country if President Mahama is in government may be different from what they will do for this country if Nana Akufo-Addo had won. Because the personalities are different. And so, if he doesn't understand, the development partners withheld their support, and that was a fact. Indeed, when we met the president, the legal team, no, he doesn't know, so he don't, the listeners are, they know, I'm not talking. My target is not him. My target is not him. He would never, even if this government is providing gold for everybody, he will never see anything good. My target is
like
the people, the people I'm talking to. Now, because there was that withholding of donor funds, we were not able to do things that we could have done for that 8 months. And so when I sit here and say that a government that has produced all these developmental projects across the country, and that government is a government that spent 1 year, almost 1 year in court, and has still produced this outcome, then I am saying that if we were not in court for that period of time, as a nation, we would have gone further than where we are now. And so it is important to conclude on the point that this government has provided the basic needs and has been able to put in projects. The 200 schools, we all know, are at various stages. 70% of them have been at various stages. We all know that. We are on the track, and we would deal with the challenges of this country as a government.
At the Congress, you also made some changes. You expanded your electoral college to 250,000, and that's huge. You also even scrapped the propaganda position to make a communication officer. And so following that, you now have a communication officer.
Now,
some of these changes.
Yes, some of these changes. Presidential staffers are now going to be delegates. Ambassadors and high commissioners are also going to be delegates now to our various congresses. I don't get you, because
not all ambassadors, for example, are party
people. Who are party men will be delegates. Who are party men? These are little things that you don't need to be worried about.
Okay, I'll come to I have my takes.
That is, you are talking about party people who have been appointed.
Yes, these are little things that you don't need to be laboring this. When I say ambassadors and all those things, this is a little matter that you shouldn't think that I have derogated. So presidential staffers, okay, who are party members, because you can be a presidential staffer who is not a party member.
Very good.
This is a little matter which doesn't need correction. You know that it is about NDC.
Yes, of course. Now, I think all parties, all of you are
yes, it is about party people.
You appoint.
We are going to have these people now voting.
250,000.
Yeah, we are expanding. They were priding. They were priding.
144,000.
They were priding in their distance. We were saying that we would send our votes to the ordinary party card bearing member in future.
That's serious implication.
In future, I'm saying in future, we want every card bearing member to vote. But for starters, this is the expansion. We are going to recognize the Zongo caucus as one of the organs in our constitution.
So we are going to give a party head.
Yes, that's it. We are also going to ensure that there is now an electoral or election directorate which will be responsible at each level, at the branch, at the constituency, at the regional and at the national level.
That's huge expansion of the party machinery.
Yes. You see, what we are doing as a party is to look at best practices and to adopt them to suit our party. Our rank and file are calling for all these things. We are doing what our rank and file are asking for. Besides that, the communication officer, over the years, the word propaganda has been bastardized so much.
You mean has been misinterpreted?
Misinterpreted, indeed. Jesus Christ, when he came here, propagated his message.
And that was propaganda?
That was propaganda.
That's blasphemous.
That is not. I'm saying that he propagated his message. And propagation simply means that selling your ideas to people. It has nothing to do with lies. But over the years, we have bastardized the word propaganda to mean telling lies. And so when you are a government communicator or you speak for government, then your opponents begin to say that because you have a propaganda office, what you are engaging is telling lies. We say that we need to be taken more seriously than the kind of things that the opposition want the people to believe in. So we have changed it to communication officer. So these are some of the reforms that are coming.
Okay.
And they are going
and
to
their
be,
impact?
first and foremost, like I told you, is to get the rank and file, to participate. There's a huge glamour for participation from our grassroots. So you see the expansion, it is to bring all these people to take part.
Really.
Yes, very broad
and very impressive.
And then also, it will give some credibility, because of this election directorate, it will give some credibility to our elections when we conduct them. So basically, that's what we do.
Very, very interesting submission by my brother Abraham Amalaba.
I think there are also some things that the MPP also can follow through with.
I am comfortable sitting here as a true pace setter of the true democracy in Ghana, being the MPP, as a member of that party. We sat in this country. In 2009, we said that, look, it is important to involve the grassroots in party affairs. We expanded it. We are ridiculed by them. Completely, we are ridiculed. Today, they have seen the lead. I am happy that what we saw yesterday, they are seeing today. That tells you that there's difference between MPP and NDC. Clearly, there's no match there. Two, before you go for constitutional amendment, which is a very important exercise, and I heard the MC of the occasion, Haruna Ejisu, saying that we've gotten to a very important part of this Congress, which is the amendment of our Constitution. They taxed a committee, which I believe Abraham Abla is part of the committee, because I saw him on the stage. I don't know whether he was just standing with...
Abraham, were you part of the committee?
Are you part of the committee? Constitutional committee?
I'm part of two committees, the legal constitutional committee
and I'm happy
the
it's
election
So you have something to do with
I'm happy that I have a committee member sitting here on that. You go in for an important exercise like this. They claim on the stage that they had gone around the country to speak to everybody and tell them about it.
Oh no. We actually went
for me, I choose to use the word claim. You don't use words for me. Please,
we actually went round. We actually went round.
Very good.
Don't say we claim as if we told a lie. We didn't tell a lie to the Congress. The members who were on the Congress, we went round. Physically went around the country.
Okay, so it's not a claim.
I thought you said you were very decent.
When you tell lies, I will correct them.
It is not a claim. That's okay. Yeah. Can we go continue?
The listeners will see who is decent. Now, clearly, you see,
come on.
Yes, we go on. A very important exercise you do have like this. Now, what you do is that if you say you are going to change some articles or amend some articles in your constitution, it comes to change the face and the thinking of the party clearly. And what I saw as a goof, a very big one,
by the party.
By the party, and for that matter,
the whole party goofed.
We don't tell you why they goofed.
Okay.
Let him
Today, you have introduced in your constitution a Zongo caucus as a wing or as an organ.
Yes, an organ.
My simple question to them is that at the just ended Congress, who is the head of that particular organ? Was there a position contested for there? So So that is...
It's an amendment.
No, wait a minute.
This will take effect. Can you imagine?
Please let me go on.
This kind of what
you let me go on. Please.
It's not taking place now. So you couldn't have asked that question.
Please.
It's a
goes on. Today, at that particular... No, please allow him. Allow him. Let me go on. Please.
Who is the leader? When we don't have it now.
Let him make his point.
No, it's so weird. It's so weird.
You see, when I make the point, you understand me. What we did in 2009...
Should we copy you?
Was to ensure that we go for a conference, amend the constitution, prior to what? Going for a delegates conference where voting will be done. Then we would have actually prepared ourselves, knowing that these are the amendments done in our constitution. This is the way forward we are going. But you are going at the instance of electing officers. Look, to buttress my point, very good point. You talked of changing propaganda secretary. Clearly, there, immediately that announcement was made, now the MC resorted to announcing communication officer. Did it take effect or didn't take effect? Did it take effect or didn't take effect? Answer my question. He said, don't do this to us. You are someone who has read constitutional law. I have read constitutional law. I understand how things go on. And I'm saying that the coming into force of an amendment, clearly when it's pronounced and agreed and adopted by our people, it's immediately after it has been adopted. And it was adopted at the conference or your congress.
So
that yet amendments have been. Today as we sit. No, wait a minute. Today as we sit, the articles that have been amended in the party's constitution remains the position of the amendment that has been introduced.
Must be.
Is that not correct? It remains so. Immediately they say, yeah to it, it has been adopted. Once it has been adopted, it comes into force, is the law. And I am asking a legitimate question.
But it's not unconstitutional. What they did was not unconstitutional.
It's not unconstitutional. Listen, I'm saying that the process, the process they did, actually in a way, was mad. I would have thought that, I don't know the arrangement.
Listen.
As a party,
I want to get the import of your... You are saying that what they did was not unconstitutional, but it was not right.
Listen, the procedure is what I'm questioning.
Sorry, so you are saying this proposed amendment should have been done earlier, so that
I thought
when coming to Congress, they would have been contested.
Very good.
That is not
either they would have been contested for, or the posters that actually went round, where they didn't actually have propaganda secretary, would have actually been communication officer. Now, if you had done that earlier,
and then you also have the position of let's say a Zongo or
absolutely, you have somebody contested for. Now today you are going to sit down again and say you are going. I don't know why you are doing this. Finally, let me wrap up. Let me wrap up. I'm not going to pay heed to your heckles and all those things. You see, when you are not actually
wrap up.
Right, that's what you do. You see, I think that NDC is refusing to learn, even in their intra-party politics. It's full of confusion.
What shows?
Oh, I've just cited the way they did the amendment, which I thought was not so good. Today you are saying that presidential staffers, you are saying that ambassadors,
who are party members,
ambassadors will be voting.
Yes.
You see, this is very vague. Why? And in law, he knows what vagueness is. He knows what ambiguity is. Clearly. Now he's telling me that party members, card-bearing members of who are ambassadors. So are you telling me that what Professor Mills said, that if NDC people come to you, open your door and let them come, the father for all things is gone? Are you telling me that the winner takes all policy, that you and I go to sit at IEA and other places to discuss? Is that something NDC buys?
So you are saying it's not all inclusive?
Excuse me, all inclusive in this country is very good. Look at the National Development Planning Commission. It doesn't espouse partisan politics. Clearly. Okay. It tells you that we need to ensure that we involve everybody. Now you are saying whoever is a president staffer must be an NDC. Whoever is a president an ambassador must be an NDC. Because they are going to vote.
Do you agree? No. Do you agree? Do you agree? All the parties, even if your party was supposed to have come to power by 2017, they would have appointed ambassadors who are party people. Not all ambassadors will be party people, because we know it's become a norm.
I know.
And we'll have presidential staffers who will be independent people,
yes,
who could even be members of other parties,
yes,
but we'll still have party people based on, because they have the skill set, would also be members of the presidential team. You do understand that? And but all those people in that categorization will get to vote in a Congress. That's what he means. And it's not until
you don't create an anxiety or paranoia in the midst of people. You and I know that. Yes, you don't need to be a party man necessarily to be an ambassador.
Yes, true.
Are you getting my point?
Logically,
no,
so you cannot vote.
Listen, don't do this.
Cannot
so
vote.
I'm saying that the law that has been put in place now, for me, will be subjected to interpretation later on, like his
Are you saying it's discriminatory?
And I don't need, you don't need interpretation.
Okay, good.
You need subjective laws.
Come on.
Laws that are very good. Not to go and bring laws and tell me that objectively you can do this and do that. It was vague.
Now,
this is a proposal.
First, he raised the issue about the amendment and the procedures by which he thought that logically you should have undertaken that. Perhaps it could have been 6 months before. Or something. You have an executive committee.
Don't stand there and tell me, listen, change the name communication immediately there.
He's a member of the Legal Constitutional Committee of the party. Let him put this to right, come out.
The bad job, the procedure was not good.
He doesn't know.
That's your perception. You're not even a member of the NDC.
Listen,
you know something. What do you know about that?
Let me tell you this. Congress is the highest body. Congress is the highest body. And so for you to have a constitutional amendment,
take effect,
that highest body must approve of it.
No, we all know that.
Oh, let me talk.
Let him land. Come on, let him land.
Come on,
let him land. Come on,
now we needed to send this proposal.
Heckling me,
we needed to send these proposals to the highest body for approval. Now, when they approve it, then it will take effect immediately after the approval. So the propaganda secretary, before approval, was called propaganda secretary. I'm now explaining the question he asked. Why is it that today they are calling that person communication officer? They are calling that person communication officer because at Congress in Kumasi 2 days ago, it was approved. That's why today. That is why today. That is why today they are called communication officer. So the posters that would have led to the election to that office must read propaganda.
I agree.
Because Congress had not yet approved of it.
Can I ask a question?
So, yes. So,
going by this very logic, why is it that... so do we have somebody for representing the Zongo wing or the organ for Zongo?
No.
Okay. Why is that we didn't have somebody contesting their death? So that by this time you have a Zongo
Let me talk. The Zongo...
What would be the name? What would be the name of the executive?
No, wait. The Zongo caucus is now going to be put in the constitution. It's now going to be put in the constitutional.
Ah, okay.
It is now going to be an organ.
Okay.
In the constitution.
So what approval was made then?
To adopt, to allow it to become now part of the organ.
So it's not taking effect yet. It's in the process.
Let me finish, please. Oh, now, if Congress accepts it,
answer direct questions. It's not taking effect.
If Congress approves,
I am asking the question.
No,
he's not answer the question. He said we should answer questions asked here.
Don't bring this guy again. I don't like this type of argument.
Okay.
I don't never bring. When I know that this guy can't come on your program. Now, listen. When Congress now approves,
you don't control here, so
because
don't be talking like that.
It is not part of our organ. We have organs. Zongo is not part of it. So now, if it is approved, then we go and insert it in our constitution. It will now take effect when we go for next Congress. So next Congress, people will now be filing to have leadership in that one. So
the next Congress will be when?
No, some 4 years ago.
Right.
Some
years to come.
So for now, you don't have an officer occupying it because Congress had taken place. Those who were elected based on the old constitution, because the old constitution did not have Zongo. Are you getting it?
But the old constitution had propaganda.
It had propaganda.
But it didn't have communication. So why are we having...
So now they said that when we approve of it, which was approved, it is now known as communication.
Right.
I don't know whether you are following.
I follow you perfectly.
Good.
So it's only that there's somebody for communication, but there's no somebody for...
I'm supposed to respond.
No, Zongo doesn't
you're not responding
No,
to
you
this,
see, propaganda existed. And so once propaganda,
changed.
it has now been changed.
The amendment was to change
the name
already of an existing.
Something.
Okay.
Zongo.
So it's just a name change. This one introduction of an organ. Okay.
So
it makes sense.
It makes sense long time ago.
Does
you see?
It never.
Now, Congress has now approved that there should be a Zongo caucus.
Okay.
But we are not going to hold elections tomorrow. We are not going to Congress tomorrow. We'll have to wait. When our next Congress is coming, then we will say that because Zongo is now in the Constitution, we can now vote for Zongo. But now, when we're going to Congress, there was nothing like Zongo.
So we can't be voting. Can I come in? We can't be voting for somebody for Zongo. It is now that it has been approved. In the next Congress, there will be an office for Zongo.
Can I ask a question once again? We do understand that these decisions are taken at Congress. Now, do you think that it is not, I will not say it's constitutionally right, this decision you've taken, but do you think that for the daily administration, or let's say a periodic administration of a party, for which you've created this very position or wing or organ for the Zongo community, just like we have for Nasara, for the NPP, do you think that it is good for it to be vacant for the next 4 years? Especially when you know that in 2 years' time you'll be going for elections?
When you read this provision, it tells you when it will take effect.
No, I do understand. That's law. You're talking
That's
law.
what I'm saying. That
you're talking law.
It says that it will take effect.
What you and I are talking is not law. All I'm saying is that, do you think that it is logic that for a party that wants to woo a lot more people in Zongo communities to promulgate this very introduction of the organ, but then would be an elected position only after 4 years? Do you think that it makes good for daily working and administration?
It makes good because already we have contacts with the Zongo people. We are now only formalizing it. It's not as if there's no contact with the Zongo people.
I'm talking about the delay and all that.
We have various wings. We have various wings. We have the Zongo for Mahama. We have Zongo groupings. Already there's contact with the Zongo group. We are now trying to formalize it. It's not as if there's no grouping or recognition for the Zongo people.
Thank you.
You see, my brother can say that someone is rabble-rousing. It's clear who is rabble-rousing here. You and I know very well that when the constitution of a particular entity, let's take the Ghanaian constitution in perspective, or to perspective. Clearly, we have process of amending the constitution, whether entrenched or non-entrenched. That has been clearly defined by the laws. He's a lawyer sitting here.
When a law is passed,
I beg your pardon.
We are told the effective date of the law.
Please.
So you can say that it will take effect. It is here. We have
next 4 years.
Yes. So we have said it. We have said it.
Come on, it's clear.
No, it's not clear. It's clear. I will make my point and let you know why it's not clear. Wait, you see, we are having a discourse.
When a law is
and
made,
it must be a decent discourse. When a referendum is entered into, and of course, majority of the people agree to the amendment process or the articles being amended.
It has an effective date.
Which includes the date of commencement.
Of its effect.
You see, I'm coming. You see, and of course, except you should tell us the date of the effect.
Next Congress.
Next Congress. So your proposal is that the next Congress, by 4 years' time, the Constitution. His argument. I want to get case clear.
Yes,
the argument Amalba is making is that the Constitution of NDC has not changed until next 4 years.
Yes.
That's the argument.
It is Congress that effects changes.
No, I'm not getting it. You see, there's serious confusion here by all of us. You see, I don't know why
there's no confusion.
I don't know why
Congress. No, come on. He says that
Congress approve of it and approve of the effective date.
So that's what they've done.
Next Congress will have a position.
This amendment you've taken will take effect next 4 years.
Congress.
Next Congress is next 4 years. This amendment will take effect next 4 years.
They will recognize
Next Congress. This amendment that took place at the NDC Congress will take effect next 4 years. Is that correct?
Per the proposal, yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
So as it stands now, the NDC Constitution is what is being used, but not the newly proposed articles that have been amended. Is that correct?
Every provision has its commencement date. Every provision has its provision. You don't know that.
So are you getting
the point? You don't know that.
Are you getting that?
We passed a law to allow foreigners to vote.
Confusion now.
We passed a law. Let me teach you.
And there's a time.
Let me teach you.
We passed a law to let foreigners vote. And we said that it will take.
My teacher is confused. He's teaching me. Can you imagine this?
No,
the teacher says that
we passed a law. You know that we passed a law for foreigners to vote. And then when we said that, the vote will take place after the last.
So you see what is happening.
So that's how
to wrap up. I have to wrap up.
That's why governance is where we are today. This is why
you have to go back.
This
to
is
your
how far you
law.
have brought us. This
You
is how
have
far
to
you
go
have brought
back
us
to your constitutional law
because
to know that when you pass a law, it has an effective date.
And you confuse yourself and you come and sit here and then
and as a law student, you should take your constitutional law seriously. That when you pass a law, there's an effective date.
Which is part of there's no effective date.
So what's your problem?
I'm asking you,
so
you
what's
have various amendments done, and you are now saying that at Congress they have the power to agree whether or not the proposal is accepted or not accepted. It has been adopted by Congress. And my question is, when is it taking effect? You say next 4 years.
Congress.
Next 4 years.
Next
then my question again is, so the current constitution of NDC holds.
What? There's a proposal here which has been agreed.
Simple.
Amendment.
They have been
I
agreed.
don't know why you do
So
this.
we have new additions to the constitution.
I understand what both of you are coming from, but I think that as far as we're concerned, an amendment has been made. The effective date by which we can say this very amendment takes effect is stated specifically.
In the when?
Yes.
Is it 4 years?
Yes.
Even if it is 15 years.
When?
If it takes place in the next Congress.
However, you should hit a headline. The new constitution of NDC will come out in 4 years.
Okay, so that's why we bring our debate for the morning on AM Talk, and I've had in the studio Abraham Amaliba is a member of the NDC, and also Kamaldeen Abdullah is a member of the MPP.
It is difficult. I do not understand. I wouldn't want.
So we're taking a break right now.